Water supply remains disrupted in several parts of Johannesburg after a number of reservoirs and towers were affected by power failure at the Zuikerbosch Treatment Plant. Johannesburg Water said yesterday that most systems lost storage capacity and are critically low to empty. Let's get a sense of where these issues emanate from with water expert Professor Anthony Turton. A very good morning to you, Prof. Thank you for your time. The frustration has really affected several communities around Joburg with opening their taps and not finding any water. Yesterday we listened to a media briefing with Joburg Water talking about, the contingency plans in place and really speaking about infrastructure, aging infrastructure being one of the problems that have now led to this challenge. What are your thoughts?
Yes, we hear lots of excuses from these people all the time. You know, the bottom line is that the system is failing. In fact, it's not failing, the system has failed. The systems are designed to deliver water under all sorts of conditions. They're allowed to break down once in 50 years. That's what the design standard is. They're breaking down now on a regular basis. So the system has failed. And unfortunately, it's not an infrastructure aging problem because everywhere in the world infrastructure ages, and then you get responsible local government which simply replaces aging infrastructure at the same pace that it ages. That's called planning. And I would put the ball squarely at the foot of the political process, the instability or the inability of the political leadership to actually come to some kind of agreement about a coalition government and who's responsible for what. They keep on squabbling and fighting about those portfolios instead of leading a team to actually do a 10-year, 15, 20-year future planning scenario to try and get on top of this, because the bottom line is the systems have failed, and once they fail, the dominoes keep on falling. It becomes increasingly difficult to actually prevent this from happening in the future.
High demand, poor supply and the impact of load shedding have also been cited as some of the reasons for this disaster. What do you make of that?
Well, high demand, demand is demand. People need water. That's what it is. So I don't think it's feasible to blame the public. The public have the right to that water, and that's just a lame duck excuse as far as I'm concerned. What is not mentioned there, of course, conveniently, is that water for the economy. What about factories? What about companies that are employing people that are unable to operate because of no water? We know what the impact of load shedding is. In the commerce sector, but now increasingly water is becoming a major issue. So water and energy, these are the two flip sides of the same infrastructure coin, and they both go down the same road. They both have failed, and now everyone's blaming everybody else. But the bottom line is that we've got to start investing very seriously into upgrading our infrastructure. We've got to restore the buffering capacity within the municipality. And I'll just add one more thing. Where Rand Water is pumping at its absolute maximum of its supply. The systems are designed to its water use license. It cannot pump more than that other than exceeding pressures, which then cause pipe bursts and what have you. So Rand Water is not to blame in this matter at all. It is fairly and squarely the municipalities, because when Rand Water delivers water into the municipal system, approximately 50% of that water then goes squirting out all over the show in leaks and broken pipes and unaccounted for water. So only half of the water that Rand Water delivers actually ends up somewhere useful. And this, of course, is fairly and squarely the municipal area of responsibility.
Yeah. We heard about the biggest challenges being with the commando system, the Crown Gardens area, that in terms of restoration, water supply there is only going to, resume sometime next week, mid next week, that the problem is much larger. We also heard about a 430 million rand or so cash injection to repair the aging infrastructure. What is your take on how this should have been managed and how the 430 million rand should be utilized to ensure that this doesn't continue to happen?
Well, a year ago you interviewed me on the program, or if it wasn't you, it was another channel, and we spoke about the commando system and exactly what you're talking about. The same question a year later. So what has changed? The latest thing that I've come up with now is a misdiagnosed problem to which an inappropriate solution is applied. So just because you throw a couple of 100 million rand at a problem, if you haven't diagnosed the problem correctly, all that does is it simply greases the wheels of patronage, and that's what's happening. So we can spend billions and billions of rand. I mean, I can mention projects where billions have been spent and not one drop of water has come out at the end of the day, because the projects were never ever designed to deliver water. They were designed to grease the wheels of patronage. So we really have to wake up. This is in part a corruption issue, but I also want to raise another very important issue that's starting to become more and more evident now, and that is crime. There's growing evidence of sabotage of the system in different places. There's a case recently in Durban where someone shut off a valve, and I live in KZN area, I live in the Port Shepstone area. There's a lot of sabotage taking place there, and what happens is some syndicate comes and sabotages the network, and then they get a contract for the tenders, for the tankers. So tanker tenders, this is the tanker mafia is a growing issue. I don't know if it is the case in this particular example, but it's becoming a growing national issue, and we're seeing the same thing on the sewage side, where mafias are sabotaging the sewers, and then they are making money out of providing sewage pumps. So, in other words, there's definitely a criminal element in this, and this, I would say, is something of grave concern to all citizens, because it's also a direct challenge to the sovereignty of the state.
Yeah. And
if we don't get on top of this soon, we're going to lose control.
Joburg Water yesterday at the press media briefing saying that they're not aware of any sabotage at all, but also speaking about not wanting to be in the position where they have to now roll out these tankers because it's costly, and in terms of logistics and planning, it's really a daunting exercise, especially for a city like Johannesburg. As you highlight the part about sabotage, what measures do you think should be put in place to prevent such acts? Because, I mean, that sounds terrible.
Well, I think the first thing is that all of these places, all of these water reservoirs and whatever used to be national key points. And I'm aware now from the Durban case recently now where it's certainly not a national key point. Anybody can walk up to that reservoir and do whatever they want to at that reservoir. Now that is clearly not acceptable. We see the same in various sewage works across the country. I mean, I do a lot of work in the sewage sector, and I can tell you hardly any wastewater works that I know of has got a security guard on it or a functioning fence around it. So in other words, the security of these sites is of paramount importance, because if a criminal can get onto a site to go and close a valve or damage a valve or do something with some nefarious intention, then so can other people. So can people with political intention. So in other words, we are moving into an area of great peril. We need to really focus on this. We need our security force people. They've got to start coming to the party. They've got to start understanding that this problem, water is a national security risk. This is an incredibly important message now. It's not just a human rights issue. It's an economic development issue, and it's also, in my professional opinion, a national security issue. Because if we don't get this right, the next step is going to happen. You're going to start getting social unrest or some rioting or something like that taking place. And who's going to invest into that kind of economy where the seething unrest simply starts to consume everyone's daily lives? This is not acceptable. It's not in our collective best interest.
In terms of accountability, what do you think needs to happen here? Because there are calls from some political parties for Rand Water CEO to do the honourable thing and resign, or have the Minister of Water and Sanitation fire the CEO. Do you think that would be part of the solutions?
No, I think that is simply knee-jerk populism. Rand Water is a state-owned enterprise, and they are not responsible for this because they are pumping to the maximum limit of their license. So they are not allowed to pump more than they pump because that's what the license is. And I think what the public needs to understand, there's an incredibly complex value chain from water in the river to water in the tap. So maybe I can just briefly, in 1 minute, if I can explain that. There are two technical terms that the public needs to understand. The first is water as a resource. That is water in the river or the dam. That's raw water. And that belongs to the state And that has to be taken out of the river by a state-owned enterprise, in this case Rand Water, and it's then treated to potable standards, and that is then delivered over thousands of kilometers of pipelines into different municipalities. So that's water as a resource. Water as a service is water in the pipes. Now that is a municipal responsibility. So once Rand Water delivers it across the municipal boundary, there's one big meter there, and that's what Rand Water bills the municipality for. And then the municipality has got tens of thousands of kilometers of pipes, and that's where the problem lies, because then the municipality is supposed to then get all of the bills. People must pay for the water that they receive. So the thousands and thousands of meters that are read and the accounts that are sent out, all of that must equal what Rand Water's billed. And of course, Rand Water is not getting paid at the moment because the municipalities aren't doing the metering or the billing properly. So therefore, the municipalities are under financial distress, and they're passing this onto Rand Water. And I'll just mention to you that South Africa has had a number of state-owned enterprises that were all world-class at some point in time. I'm thinking of Eskom, I'm thinking of South African Airways, I'm thinking of Rand Water. Of those three, one no longer exists, SAA. The other one is in extreme distress at the moment, Eskom. And the third one that's on its way in that direction is Rand Water. So firing the CEO of Rand Water is purely a knee-jerk response. Rand Water is actually a very, very responsible organization, in my opinion. They are internationally recognized, and in fact, they are one of the major players. Rand Water is the biggest single bulk water provider in the world. Most people don't know that, but they are a massive entity, and they are professional. They're a good organization. So I do not in any way support that notion of firing the CEO.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let's perhaps leave it there for now. Some very thorough analysis there. Water expert Professor Anthony Turton.